Today on the Break It Down show, we have, oh man,
I know.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I know this is awesome for you, but this is awesome for me too, because
Yeah.
I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
Today's show, our guest is Jason Mackenroth.
I'm so stoked.
Dude.
So here's my Jason Mackenroth story. I'm a Henry Rollins fan, and I wanted to make sure that I saw Henry
Who isn't?
Rollins. Yeah, I mean, you have to love the guy.
Right.
He may disagree with, and he says this, you may disagree with how I approach these things or anything else, but all I'm talking about is making sure that you get fed, your kids get educated, you know? Who's mad at that?
Yeah. No, you can't get mad at him. He does say some things that may rile people.
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of,
Yeah.
what he's doing. But the thing about Henry Rollins as it relates to Jason is
Mhm.
that he's a taskmaster
Right.
and he's a get it done guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look, he's going to go run his mouth, and he's going to talk about political things. Ask him a question about the Constitution or challenge him on it, and he's going to smash you.
Oh, I dare you.
Because he's done the work.
Yeah.
He's done the
absolutely.
homework.
He's got a lawyer's understanding and
Yeah.
recall
Yeah.
of the Constitution.
And all the amendments and the Bill of Rights. You know, I mean, so.
And has an intimate knowledge on a level of not just knowing the facts, but knowing how people felt and the tides as they changed in the history of our country.
Right.
The dude's a historian.
No, he knows about it. And he'll go. And so part of his thing he does now with the TV is he goes to the places. He lives that life, almost anthropological, because he has to have hard work. He has to pay attention to details.
Right.
And that brings us back to what Jason is.
Right.
A highly detailed drummer.
Highly detailed, disciplined. Technically, his prowess is top notch.
Yeah.
And he'll give you the show, man. The dude rocks hard.
Yes.
But if you're a drummer and you're a technical drummer and you pick him apart, you go, oh man,
Yeah.
dude's grace notes are consistent and they're just right. His accents are consistent and they're just right. He flies around the toms. He does everything with a meter that is absolutely trained and precise.
Yeah.
He's a sniper.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. So there I am at the Metro in Chicago. They're recording a live album 2 nights, and it's just crazy snowing, like one of those it's socking in Chicago kind of snowstorms. But I go in and I watch, and Henry is Henry, and I love Henry, you know. But there's another guy wearing black shorts with no shirt on, just beating the bejesus out of the drums, swinging from the rafters.
Right. All of the technical prowess and all that stuff aside,
Yeah.
this motherfucker rocks his ass off.
And he is absolutely rock and roll through and through.
Yeah.
You know, he almost was born in the wrong era because his era absolutely is just, it's unfair to say it's 80s rock because he's also punk. He's all these things. Oh, and by the way, he plays for the Blue Man Group. And so
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that too.
Yes,
but
we are.
we're super stoked to have him on the show.
So for his path of progression,
Yes.
he was the drummer for the amazing band Mother Superior.
Right.
Mother Superior ran into Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins said, you know what? I am so busy shooting off my mouth that I really need a band that executes with a level of proficiency that I don't have to worry about them. I
Yeah.
can bring the band into the studio and let them loose. And this
Yes.
is me putting, of course, words into his mouth and summarizing the feeling of the way that it went together. But Mother Superior became the Henry Rollins Band
Right.
because Henry was impressed with their work ethic and their ability to go in and cut a song and be done.
Right.
And that's just kind of executioner he is.
And if there's anybody in the music industry that works harder than Henry, I'd love to hear about it because that guy will put them in a tin shed and work them all day, sweating, working, because when
Yep.
it's showtime, that's going to be easier than what practice was.
Yeah. And that's really the thing that put Mother Superior in the position to say, we'll be the new Henry Rollins Band.
Yeah.
So the drummer for Mother Superior, then he became the drummer for the Henry Rollins Band. That's where you guys cross paths.
Right. Also, simultaneously, the drummer for Daniel Lanois' tour.
My God.
And if anybody can pick any musicians that he wants, he doesn't, because he's not doing it to sell 1 million albums.
Nope.
He picked Mother Superior.
Yep.
So do yourself a favor. Watch some YouTube video of Jason Mackenroth playing the drums.
Yep.
And you're going to see that this guy
There's some out there. We'll put some links on the website.
Yeah, for sure.
Jason's awesome.
So Henry Rollins Band, and then there was a fallow period where he's trying to, Henry was sort of done with the music thing. He's trying to figure out, what am I going to do?
Right. He started his kind of spoken word career and his career as a historian and a TV
Yeah.
host and all that. And in the midst of doing that, sort of put the Henry Rollins Band on a shelf, which left Jason to kind of contemplate what he was doing while also having to, by the way, earn a living because he had family to support.
Had a family, yeah. And so the podcast probably will cover most of those things.
Yep.
And I'll just tell you this too, just my very few times I've talked to Jason, he's an absolutely world-class dude.
Jesus, man.
Straight up,
yeah.
and as approachable, and you want to answer, and you want to be
just a
straight.
real live, lovable dude.
Yeah.
Man. I just can't speak highly enough of him, Jason.
Yeah.
He's a quality dude.
Do it. Let's listen to it. Let's break it down.
Oh, hi, this is Jason Mackenroth, the Blue Man Group, Las Vegas. You're listening to the Break It Down show. Crank it up.
We are in, of all places, the Excalibur Hotel.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we are rolling, and we'll just start. But in the meantime,
Many thanks
sitting
to the
here with,
Excalibur folks.
yeah, many thanks. Sitting here with Jason Mackenroth from Blue Man Group, and excited to have you, man. Thanks for
Yeah, my pleasure.
stopping by.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So we talked for a minute on our way up here about just the evolution of your journey as a musician and how it landed you in Las Vegas. Give us just a little recap.
Well, I moved out to Vegas in 2006. Was living in Los Angeles, doing a number of things out there. I moved to LA in 89 from Sacramento originally. Got in a band with some guys. We were called Mother Superior. Did that, put out our own records, did some of our own touring, whatnot, did a lot of our own promotion, and then got involved with Henry Rollins because he liked a record that we did. Then
So he found you from a Mother Superior record.
Yes, he did.
All right.
Yeah, we put out a record locally called Right in a Row, Mother Superior Right in a Row. Came out late 93, and we all worked at record stores, so Henry was a big record store guy too, and one of the band members ended up giving Henry a copy of the CD, and he called back right away and said he loved it. So we kind of stayed in touch. So throughout the 90s, we just, he produced a couple records of ours and did some liner notes. Then we ended up being Rollins Band. And so by 98, we were recording music with Henry, and it just ended up being Rollins Band. So we were Mother Superior and Rollins Band simultaneously. So as we come into the new century, we're still going strong and this and that, but things just sort of dried up around 2003, 2004, and I needed to do something. I just wanted to keep making a living in music. So as a last-ditch effort, kind of just decided to pick up and move to Las Vegas. I'd heard about Blue Man Group, thought I had a good shot at it, came out here and just started hanging out and meeting people at clubs like the Double Down, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So I started meeting a lot of the Blue Man guys who play in a lot of bands here locally after hours and hanging out with them, playing with them. By the time there was a local audition available, my name was in the hat. So I got an audition, went to the audition, and got the gig in July of 2007.
So it was one of those situations where you went in for the audition and it was like, hey, Jason, how you doing? And you knew everybody in the room by then.
Well, I didn't quite know everybody in the room because the people who doing the auditions were not the people I was hanging out with. But they knew about me from the other guys, so I'd known a handful of the guys in the cast.
Yeah, your reputation had preceded you.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we've seen as a constant in the success of a guy who like you comes to a new town and gets a great gig. It's not just that you show up and there's a great gig and you walk into it. There's the cycle of, getting to know everybody. And it's not a scene that you force your way into. You're invited in because you're around, because you're capable, because you're playing, and you start to develop the reputation as a good player and a reliable guy and all that stuff.
It definitely was a process.
Yeah. Okay.
It sure was. So
tell us again, between you moving to Vegas and then actually getting this audition, how much time are we talking about?
It took almost exactly a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Little less than a year. We moved here in August 2008, my wife and kids and I. 2006. And by July 2007 was when I finally ended up getting hired by Blue Man.
Man, so I'm sort of making some assumptions here, but it seems to me if you got a wife and kids, there can't be a better gig.
I can't disagree.
Yeah.
One of the beauties of playing in Blue Man Group, I got hired for the way that I play. So nobody tried to change the way I play.
Yeah.
So I get to, fulfill that aspect of it. I didn't have to tweak my style. I mean, there's things you got to do in the show that are obviously very dynamic. You can't play on 10 all the time, which I did with Henry for the most part and in Mother Superior.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's not quite like that, but there are times when you absolutely play on 10. So whatever qualities they recognized in me, thankfully, are invited. So.
And if you have your druthers, are you on 10 all the time?
Yeah, I used to be, not as much now.
Yeah.
No, now I like to sort of all emphasis is no emphasis, so I like to try and figure that out.
Is that you figured out a better voice for yourself and like where the notes need to go and you don't need all of them? all loud or?
Well, there's a lot of musicians on stage in this show. There's 2 other percussionists and 3 string players in addition to the 3 blue men. So the cast is 9 people on stage. And you got to be sensitive to that. So everybody can play. Everybody has to be heard. It's not just one drummer running the show.
You got to play well with others.
Exactly. And others have to play well with you. So it's a lot of give and take.
And that's a musical maturity thing. I mean, just like anything else that you do, any artistic endeavor, you're going to get older, you're going to get some miles behind you and figure out that you have, a few different things you want to say, and you don't have to scream them all the time.
You got to be dynamic.
Yeah. You get more tools in your bag, I would imagine. It allows you to have a different conversation at different times. Yeah. And sometimes, 10 is great. Sometimes 11 is perfect. Mm-hmm. But sometimes just that, and we were talking about some of the grace notes that you've put in. We listened to some of the songs, and there's nothing 10 about a grace note, No, it's just, it's right there.
Texture.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a lot like drum corps, too, in some ways, because you're listening to the other players so hard, and every single note has to be
spot
placed.
On.
Yeah. And with the proper feel, and not everybody feels the same way all the time. So, that's the other thing about Blue Man Group. It never stops. It's not like a tour season.
Yeah.
It's not like we go on tour for 6 months and then you're off for 6 months and making a record, and it's always on.
Really, how often are you guys dark?
Well, we're supposed to do about 7 shows a week, depending on how many shows are held. Sometimes we do less, sometimes we do more.
Yeah.
But the basic schedule, we're salaried for 7 shows a week.
Okay. And then when you do those 7 shows, you got to do a couple of days where you're doing more than 1 show a week.
Usually
so
we do a double.
Not that you're working 7.
Correct.
Yeah. So do they give you at least 2 days off a week?
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of doubles.
This week I got 4 days off.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Okay.
I got all my shows in 3 days. And
so here you are, and you get to stay at home.
Yeah.
You're not on the road. You get to see your kids.
Yeah. And the checks keep coming all year round. Whereas on tour, they come while you're on tour. And then, like with Henry, we'd get, advances for publishing and advances for making the record. And we'd get lump sums, but then it would dwindle down. And now the money it's just
nonstop.
It's constant. You can budget.
Yeah.
How does vacation work in this kind of situation?
You just get vacation. You request it off, and if the other guys are have not requested it off prior, and it's available, you got it.
So how many Blue Man shows exist in the country?
Gosh, let's count them. I guess New York, Boston, Orlando, Chicago, Vegas. So there's 5 in the country.
There's 5. And so if how interchangeable are you with the other shows? So if you decided to...
It's a good question. I have not been trained in or cross-trained. They used to call it cross-pollination.
Yeah.
And they used to do it more often than they do now. I'm not trained to go into any of the other shows. There's a lot of the material that is the same, but then there's quite a few differences. It would take some prep, and they haven't done a lot of that lately.
Yeah, those differences have to be based on... I mean, this show is so unique that it has to be based on personnel. I mean, it's, like anything else, if you've got a team in one location, a team in another location, those teams are going to have different strengths. Yeah. And they're going to have different things that they do well and that crowds respond to. You're playing in different houses. Yeah. So.
And a lot of it is the band configuration plays a part in that too, because in New York, there's just one drummer.
Wow.
In Boston, there's just one drummer. Chicago, one drummer. So we're doing a job here in Vegas with maybe much of the same material, but with a different configuration of musicians who have different roles. So the kit player, which is the lead position in the music department, because a lot of the show cues are cued off the Blue Men, which the kit has players watching, and then we'll do a fill to bring the band into another section based on actions of the Blue Man.
Okay.
Well, those times, that would be the same, but the percussionists that are in this show in Vegas are not there. They just don't exist. So there's a lot of things the kit player in other cities has to fill in.
Yeah.
That you don't have to fill in here percussion-wise. So some of the other cities have some more challenging aspects to it.
Right. So if you're out there listening and you haven't seen the Blue Man Group, it's a percussive show. It's action-packed. There's always things going on. And
it's funny.
I mean, you go through the whole cycle of emotions. It's suspenseful. It's funny. And you have so much going on that just fills your senses. So if you're here and you've got the advantage of additional percussion players here in Vegas and somebody in another city doesn't, they have to be that much busier.
they're busier, and they have to sort of paint a different picture. The original guy who wrote a lot of these drum parts was literally a painter and an artist.
Wow.
And so a lot of the drum parts are based on brush strokes, and like literally, like, you know, how you could brush stroke something in relation to the Blue Man's throwing of the gumballs and the marshmallows and all those things.
Right.
So there's an added responsibility in this shows that have one drummer, because he's got to fill in all these other textural things that you have the luxury maybe in this show of some of the percussionists doing for you.
Yeah, that shelf of toys.
Yeah.
That you have at your, you know, in your quiver to paint those textures.
Yeah.
You're one guy and you got to have it all.
You got to go. Yeah,
so
you're doing it all.
I think what I'm hearing here is if you guys are in a city that's got a Blue Man Group show, go see it. But if you're
They're
not
all
and
different.
you want to travel to the one that's got the real deal, come to Vegas.
This one's the most rocked out.
Yeah.
This one's like all the guys are rock guys.
Yeah.
Everybody here has been hired because they're rock musicians. We all have rock in our blood. So it's pretty much the band plays a rock show, you know, with the nuances of the Blue Man show. But musically speaking, the band guys, we're just a bunch of rock dudes out here.
That makes sense, and it's even more of a draw, I think, you know, for our listeners. You want to rock out to the Blue Man Group, Vegas is the city.
It's the place to go.
Yeah.
Man. So your approach to this thing, how much freedom did you get? I mean, you know, you said they hired you for you, and you were the guy who fit the bill. And then when you come in, how much of the arranging, how much of the composition of the show do they say, hey, man, you let it take off and we'll capture whatever magic you're creating?
That's a good question. The parts are written. The music is obviously written. A lot of the music was written from the very beginning. And so we have names for all these songs. They're weird names for songs. Mandelbrot, Drumbone, Feast Picking. Those are just some of the names. And you have to play the songs. But what you can do as an artist and a musician is you can put your flair to it as long as you're doing a good job cueing the bands, and if you have good feel and it's supporting, it's got to be supportive. Everybody, you know, in the band has to be supportive of one another, but the kit player in particular really has to have the foundation that everybody can sort of build upon, and it's got to support the show. As long as you support the show and you're playing great, that's what the job's all about.
Yeah. Given that you guys have been together for a few years, I mean, it must be now where your knowledge of the set, ability to, you know, you kind of log the songs in muscle memory. And by now, you guys just must be, it's like watching the Globetrotters, right? Everything's a no look. You know where everybody is and where everybody's supposed to be.
Unless something unique happens, it's pretty damn tight.
What's something unique that might happen? That's that's what I got to know.
And now that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, anything can happen. It's a live show and it's theater. Like, there can be a derailment at any time, and then everybody's sort of got to follow and figure out where that person's at. It could happen from maybe an unusual circumstance with the Blue Man's interaction with an audience member, where we have to vamp a section particularly long, or maybe we have to cut a section. Sometimes there's some prop failures, and we'll get a notification over our headset that we got to go into the next section, so we have to cut something out. And so you kind of be on your toes to, okay, what's the cue going to be, so the whole band is clear exactly when we're going to hit it, and we're going to go into the same spot.
And that's your job to
Yes.
kind of drive that?
Whoever's on kit. That's the other thing. I don't just play kit in this show. All the drummers, all the full-time drummers, are trained in all three positions. So it's a rotating show. So I'll play a couple kit shows a week, but every drummer in the show plays a couple kit shows in the week. So therefore, you're getting a different show.
And it's really cool.
The Blue Men rotate as well.
Wow.
Every time you see the show, it's a slightly different configuration.
Okay.
So you're not only getting, I mean, this is for our listeners, that sounds like, oh, okay, so you get to rotate. But musically, you get to just express different things. You
Yes.
get to play different parts.
You got to know all the parts
Yeah.
for every position.
And so this makes sense now when you request vacation time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do you guys get subs? Do you go get?
We have subs that are available if people need to call out on a moment's notice, or if people are going on vacation. Yes, there are subs.
Yeah. But in addition, everybody knows every part.
Correct.
So there's always the, hey, we got a sub, you know, there's that one sticky part, you know, we'll cover that, or we'll lead you in, or whatever. it's a constant communication every night of the show.
Yes. And there's usually discussions about it after the show.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of like calls each other and that was cool what you did, or what was going on there?
Yeah.
You know, like,
really, triplets right there?
Yeah. What made you think to do that? You know, that kind of those conversations happen almost nightly.
Yeah.
And does the show evolve because of that, Mike? And not change in big terms, but like, hey, from now on, whenever this happens, we like that. Grabbing the maraca and doing a triple shake.
Well, not as much that. The parts are written. There's a template part for each position of the show. Whatever liberties you take, if it becomes a trend, that can get shut down. But what they're looking for is
it has to be a disciplined show.
It's discipline, yes. Yeah. But you do have, some leeway to do what you want, express yourself. And if you want to play the shaker in a spot one night where it wasn't written to be, that could be cool. But it's not going to turn into a thing. If it turns into a thing, somebody will probably put a
you got to
stop
squash
to it.
that at some point, right? If you're the MD, you got to go, wait a minute.
Yep.
There's a vision.
Yep.
You got to get with the vision.
Right.
But, I think really what we've heard, you're really part of a series of podcasts. We talked to Derek Jones across the street at CAW, and he said some of the same things. There are some places where you lead into something where if your ability to create that texture that fits into that place is right and it's real and it's sincere and everybody digs it, well then great. But it's not going to be hey, I'm going to change this thing and then I'm going to change that thing and I'm slowly but surely going to make it so that the arrangement's mine.
No, that can't happen. You're allowed to express, but you're not allowed to change stuff. I mean, unless that's not totally true, but by and large that's true. But if you have somebody has some incredible idea, I mean, everybody's open to it.
Yeah. And I would imagine now that you guys have a few years together that, you sort of have that same feel for a place. Like if this gag started off like this, but it's really been working because of this, let's embellish that. And you can all see it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're all very influenced by each other, too, as players. And we're a pretty tight bunch, I gotta say. I mean, we know each other all very well. We know each other so well, we can tell exactly how we sound as drummers like we speak. We all it's very close. We hear each other straight in our ears every single time we play. So it's pretty neat for that. It's actually pretty intimate.
That is cool. That is really, really cool. And I hope that's something that when audiences come, they pick up on that.
I think so. I mean, the energy definitely translates. You can see the happy people. I mean, it really makes people happy.
It really does, doesn't it?
It's a great show.
It does. It's pretty neat to see people coming out with smiles in droves.
Every night you get to do that. Well, pretty much all year long.
All year long.
And do you guys take any breaks where it's like, well, from, November something to whatever, everybody's off? The whole show's dark. Good to see you guys.
The show will go dark for maybe a day at a time, or if there's a tech period, it'll go dark for not that long. When we loaded in the Monte Carlo in October of 2012, we moved over from the Venetian, where the show had been for 7 years, I think. Basically, they wrote a whole new show, all new props, a lot of new music. So we had a lot of work to do. Plus, we were doing a procession, which we don't do anymore, unfortunately, going around the casino floor of the Monte Carlo before the show every day. We had these things, it was called a percussipede. And you had 3 drummers, and you had a string players on a cart that was rolled around by this crazy stuff, this stuff that looked wild. And we'd go around, and we'd play all these different percussion pieces, and then we'd line up in front of the theater entrance and then do drum solos. And it was all arranged, and then anyway, that was one of the things that was new about the new show.
That's kind of unfortunate you don't do that anymore.
It is. It's less work, so some of us were like, it's kind of a relief. But at the same time, it gave us to get right in front, a chance to get right in front of the people.
Yeah,
right.
And we wore different costumes. We didn't wear makeup, so we were right there under the casino lights.
It's you and everybody.
Yeah,
here I am.
Yeah, like 3 feet away, just killing it on the drums.
Do you wear blue makeup as part of the thing?
No. The band wears right now. We're wearing we're usually under black light, so we're wearing a black costume with some white tribal type print on it, and then we put white tribal print on our face.
I saw a picture on the internet recently. I guess the drummer from Jason Aldean's band was there, and a couple of you guys probably took pictures with him. Then is that the outfit that you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so you're under black light. You got some white accents. So you kind of are just little white figures back there playing then, right?
Yep. It's supposed to be a real tribal kind of thing.
Okay.
How old are your kids?
19 and 16.
19 and 16. So, but they were with you from the beginning. How do they feel about the show? They dig the show?
Oh, they love the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you brought them for the first time, they, if you guys haven't seen Blue Man Group, the show will blow your mind. So if you're a kid, you go see Blue Man Group, there's two ways that can go. Your mind is even more blown, or that's Dad. I see him all the time.
No, it's funny. I would imagine that too, but they actually, the show kind of transcends, it seems like, in their interest in it. It transcends. It's not just Dad up there. It's like they see the whole show and they love the show.
You got a 19-year-old kid, man.
I do.
You look like you're 26.
It does. Yeah.
Man.
It's all that running back there
but
behind
clearly
them.
you've been in this business
5.
for a long time. You got in this business for the long haul.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the trappings that happen to guys who have been in this business for as long as you, guys get distracted and derailed and, into something.
It's a tough business. And like I said earlier in the interview, I mentioned that I moved out here kind of as a last-ditch effort because there was a time post-Rollins Band, before I moved out here, I was selling tires.
Right.
Yeah.
Just trying to
Make ends
pay
meet.
the bills.
Yeah.
Because I had kids and a wife. I was committed to that, but it just about killed me.
I gotta say this too, because I've seen Jason play live, and I've always was impressed with what you did out there at the Metro in Chicago when I saw you with the Rollins Band, and it just seemed like you swing those sticks from the rafters, just killing and driving the emotion. And Henry's already this really emotive singer. You wouldn't say he's euphonious because of his voice. He's not Daryl Hall. He's just like, I'm going to put these lyrics in your chest, and your job is to amplify that. That's kind of the way I got it. And goddamn, he is really, really good. You and I listened to some songs. But,
yeah, for sure.
Man.
Well, here's what I think, and I want you to correct me where I go off the rails. But it seems like if I'm hearing it right, and I saw the original Lollapalooza tour.
Mm-hmm.
You guys on that?
No. I think Henry was.
Henry
but it was
was
before I joined.
But that was
the band.
before you joined the band. Okay,
Yeah.
because that was like 90. I don't know when it was. Anyway, it seemed to me that he had a message to get across, and that the music was going to be his medium for the message. But his when I listen to the recordings of you, it seems like I'm going to go get the baddest band that I can get, so I don't have to worry about that. And then I can be the lyricist with the message and he just sort of, concentrated on his thing and let you guys go. I don't know that he had a traditional spot as a band leader where he was as involved in kind of the day-to-day. He had to get guys who were proficient enough that he didn't have to worry about making a disciplined situation. Is that true?
I'm sure it is. I think his attraction to us was that attraction to Mother Superior was that we wrote songs. Okay. And we put out our own records, and we really drove ourselves, and that's what he was attracted to.
So he had co-conspirators. He didn't just have employees.
He was. I remember the first record he produced for us was in early '98, and we recorded the record downtown Los Angeles, and it ended up being called Deep. He was impressed at. We would just record a whole record in like 3 days. We go in Friday night, start recording, set up, maybe record a tune, record all day Saturday. By Sunday, we're out of there. Right. And that blew his mind.
Yeah.
It's because we would just rehearse all the time. I mean, we would just go and set up all our gear and break it down 2 or 3 times a week just because we loved to do it.
Right.
And we were writing songs and making music together. So that's what I think he was attracted to the most. So he's like, man, my guys aren't really, just didn't work that fast, I guess. And that bought him because time is money.
Yeah.
So he kind of knew he could get us in the rehearsal studio, write a handful of tunes, get into the recording studio and just knock them out and get out of the recording studio rather than just wasting money.
What's that process like with him? I mean, he's in there. Obviously, he's going to have those words. He's got it. But I mean, how do you get to where, the fills and like one of the songs we were listening to, and I forget, maybe it was Get Some Go Again, or one of those songs where you were hitting a cymbal every time, and he was emphasizing the word almost in sync. How do you guys get to that point?
It was not difficult. I think the first time we went into a rehearsal room together, we wrote 5 songs together. I think Get Some Go Again was one of those songs. And I think there was another song called Monster that night, another song called 100 Miles. I don't know. There was like 5 songs in a night. We just started playing riffs together and playing drum beats together. Thinking Cap, I think, came from the first night.
Wow.
And
wow.
Yeah.
In a night.
Just in one night.
I could see
boom.
why he was instantly enamored of you guys and snatched you up.
Because that's a hard-working dude right there.
Yeah, man. To find a whole band full of guys that want to work as hard and as fast and get things done like that, and be as enthused about it as he is, it was a match.
Yeah, it was a match pretty instantly. He also liked that we were rehearsing in a studio right across the street from Hollywood High, right off of Highland and Selma there. I don't know if the rehearsal studio's still there, but we rehearsed there, and he said they used to rehearse there with Black Flag, and he thinks it was one of the same rooms. So that was inspiring to him.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah. That's interesting. So where I was going with this is you're so talented. You've got all this skill. And to think that, man, being as good as you are, you have to go and sell tires and almost give up your gift. That should inspire any young artist who's trying to figure out how to make it, that, you just keep at it, you keep grinding, and good things come from that.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. I mean, I kind of felt like at one point there was no other choice. Emotionally, it was just, like I said earlier, like selling tires just about killed me.
Yeah.
And I just, it was depressing.
You know what? Every musical guest we've had so far has talked about there was no turning back.
Yeah. I
couldn't not do it, and I couldn't not be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point in my life where I just said, this is it. I have to be good at this because that's it.
That's it.
So, yeah, that's amazing. That's the thread.
Huh. That's cool.
That's
cool other people said that.
I mean, I would say it's the thread in success, especially in music, because it's a job that everybody wants. And if you're going to be the guy who has it, you got to be the guy who's going to fight.
It's a gift for sure, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. And I try and remember that every time I'm on stage. I hope I never take it for granted because it means everything to me.
You said something that kind of made me think about that, because someone's sitting in that chair before you, and you came to Las Vegas and thought, I got a shot at that gig. That means, you're hawking somebody else's gig, and what puts you into that frame of mind where you think, I can do that? Like, what's the circumstance for that?
The guy quit.
Yeah.
I kind of, honestly, I felt like I was a shoo-in because I knew I was a great rock player, a good enough rock player to do that job. And I also knew I had drum corps experience. So I knew how to play with other drummers. So it just like the combination of that, I even marched some senior corps in the mid-2000s when I was living up in Northern California for about a year.
Is there? I didn't know there was that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we marched with some old freelancer alumni, some old buddies, and made some new buddies, and just did some real. I mean, it was all about drinking. Yeah. It was. We do shows.
There's a club about drinking. I need to join this club.
And you get to hit stuff with a stick.
Yeah, we would just go out and we would do shows. We were all over age for we're senior corps, so we could be any age.
Yeah,
and we would just go do our shows and then set up in the parking lot for the rest of the night with our ice chest and drink and play drums.
Your drum corps tenure expires at 21, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
So senior corps it's like
all
the
ages.
Senior tour.
Yeah, it can even be young guys. There were guys who were trying to get into junior corps.
Yeah.
Weren't, for whatever reason, there yet. So, yeah, they were hanging out, too. A lot of underage drinking going on.
Yeah. Well, it happens.
As well as overage drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just rock and roll after all.
That's right. So, let's see. We also, we wanted to talk to you about, we do a current events thing. And so, for our current event, Pete's our current events man.
Well, we have two choices. We can talk about Ebola or we can talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I'm going to say that we talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That sounds good to me because Kiss was in just recently, which is my favorite band of all time.
Okay.
So that was exciting.
Nice.
But it wasn't exciting the way it went down.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah. Just play a fucking song.
Just play. Everybody wants you to play. Just play.
So you don't care who's up there as Kiss. Just go out. All of you go up. And
no, I want Peter, Ace, Gene, and Paul.
Okay, you want the three. You want the four of them. Okay.
Yeah. No, I totally care. Like, I've been such a devout, diehard Kiss fan for all my life. It's kind of the reason that whoever I am now is kind of because of Kiss.
All right.
Yeah, that was disheartening. I actually really enjoyed the reunion in '96. I was so excited about that because I didn't get to see the original four guys.
Wow.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so seeing that and the original show, basically, and all the original guys, obviously, it was great. And then they kept going for a few years, and that was all during a time when Rollins Band was budding, as far as the lineup that I was involved with was going strong at that time. So I was really trying to, parallel my emotions with the Kiss thing, and then the Kiss thing fell apart, and it just felt like everything fell apart when Kiss fell apart. And then the Imposters come in. So I'm not really into the Imposters. They made a couple good records over the last few years, but it's really about Paul Stanley to me. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I just wish they would have played. I think just get over it. Play a damn song.
Yeah.
Right.
For the fans.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a good staging for one of the things we've been talking about. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get back into it. All right, so that sets the stage for one of the things I wanted to talk about. John and I kind of we define the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not just 4/4-time blues-based music, because Linda Ronstadt is in, and a bunch of other people that you wouldn't say that's rock and roll. So NWA was nominated last year, they're nominated this year. To us, they're so rock and roll. I mean, they terrified people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sort of our test is if Gene Simmons shows up at your house and wants to date your daughter, what do you say? And you're like, hell no, that's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Dave Grohl shows up, all right, yeah, so he's rock and roll, but he's not scary. Ice Cube shows up, man,
I was a Tupac fan, and that to me is kind of the ultimate punk rock.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
There's some scary shit going on there.
NWA is so punk rock, so rock and roll. They can't play any song at the show because that's a corporate show.
Yeah,
and you can't play "Fuck the Police." You can't play "Dope Man, Dope Man." The fifth word in Straight Outta Compton's "nigga" and "fuck." It's just like right there. So you can't. That's just rock and roll. What do you think? I mean, that's hard.
I can't disagree. I don't really have those records. I haven't listened to them a lot, but I know the songs you're talking about, and I totally agree. I think totally on the mark.
So I hope they get in. I would like to see what they do to, and plus that's not really Ice Cube and Dr. Dre's brand anymore either. So how do they deal with that? And so I'm interested to see what happens when it comes to NWA.
So what's your vote? NWA, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame material?
Put them in.
Yeah.
Put them in.
in.
It's a tough class too. Bill Withers is nominated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and all that guy did was he went out and beat Marvin Gaye at Marvin Gaye's best. When he put his best rhythm and blues stuff out, Bill Withers put out Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone. That won the Grammy that year. So
let's go pull up the list.
He doesn't have the catalog that Marvin Gaye does, though, does he?
No, he doesn't.
That's true.
He does not.
That's true.
He's got the brilliance, not the longevity.
But then when you're talking about Hall of Famers, now you get into the qualifications. Like, you want to see if it's baseball. You want a nice, long, healthy career.
Yeah.
And then you don't want that guy who, like Fernando Valenzuela, he comes in and he kicks everybody's ass for like 2.5 years. Then he kind of fades out. But he kicked everybody's ass so thoroughly in those 2.5 years. Does that qualify him for the Hall of Fame? Kind of shady.
Yeah. So here's a good question. Joan Jett's nominated.
Okay.
She doesn't have the catalog, but she's also a female pioneer in rock and roll.
Yeah.
She has absolutely got the impact.
She's got the impact. I think she's changed lives enough.
By the way, this year's, have you heard the nominees
No.
for this year? It's a deep class.
Okay, so now here's the thing. We'll get your yay or nay on all of these. Keep in mind, don't let this limit you. Just give a yay or nay.
And some of these groups are older
But
groups.
keep in mind that how many nominees are there?
it's like 15.
There's like 15, and they're going to let 4 of them in or something. I don't know what those numbers
So
are.
there's the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're Chicago's
their music.
Yeah. Chic, Nile Rodgers. What do you think about that?
I don't know enough about them.
They're like a disco era. They put a lot of groups. They're influential. Nile Rodgers has done. He's like 80% of what Quincy is. So that's where they're. Green Day.
No.
How come?
I just don't buy it.
How about Kraftwerk?
Yes.
How
Not
come?
that I know a lot about them, but I think that their genre and what they've done, because I know a lot of people like them. Actually, I think they've had a large influence on Blue Man Group's music.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Really.
Man,
As
Machine.
Devo has.
Sure.
Pink Floyd has.
Yeah.
All those bands.
But yeah, Kraftwerk, just as, they were
Electronic,
so,
Yeah, and they're right there in
They
the
were so
description.
foundational when it comes to electronic music.
Synthesizer-based electronica, just like you said. There's a group called the Marvelettes, like a Supreme. Okay, so you know them?
Put them in. I think any 60s Motown group should be in there.
All right. How come?
Because I just think that Berry Gordy's empire matters. I think that stuff is just so valuable in every way. It's got mostly the same, guys playing on all those songs.
Yeah.
A lot of the same songwriters writing all those songs. There's a variety of them, obviously. Holland Dozier Holland, and then Smokey was a big force in writing.
Yep.
So, yeah, put the Marvelettes in.
How about 9 Inch Nails?
I'm not a fan. I don't know. I mean, I don't care if they go. I don't listen to them.
And it's almost kind of like, in our opinion, at least, I speak for John here, it's Trent Reznor and the 9 Inch Nails. Because really, Trent is the genius behind that work. He might have absolutely super talented dudes with him, but
I can't name one.
Yeah.
Right. Has it already been 25 years for those guys?
Yeah, them and Green Day first year nominated. I don't know if maybe it's been a little longer for 9 Inch Nails, but just barely. And Green Day, they had a really early album that really wasn't. It was released, so it counts, but their real work happened in the mid-90s.
Now, I'm a, Green Day supporter because I'm a Bay Area guy. I want them to get in someday.
I have friends.
I don't think that day is today. That's how I feel about it. I mean, if you're getting in 25 years on a technicality because you had a record that was kind of, they can wait a little while. I think they're going to get in. There's no doubt about whether or not they should be in there at some point, but they can hang out. Kiss hung out.
Kiss hung out for a long time.
Kiss hung out for too
Rush
long.
Rush
hung out for too long.
Yeah.
So why are we... Anyway.
What about Lou Reed? Lou Reed is nominated.
Again, I don't like Velvet Underground that much. I think it's kind of second rate.
Okay, all right. Second rate. How is it second rate? Is it like just the lack of influence, or what do you think it is?
It's celebrating being not that good.
So it's
Man, I can appreciate that comment right there.
So it's like the
it's
guy
celebrate. It is. It's kind of rock and roll mediocrity that everybody just latched onto for fellow mediocrity. Bullshit.
And there's a place maybe for that, like we talked about in baseball terms. There's the pitcher that wins 12 games every year for 20 years. He's got 240 wins. That's more than almost everybody. But it was never.
But
any
he never
good.
won 20 games.
Yeah,
He just won 12 games.
So Lou Reed can wait. And what about the Smiths?
He didn't say Lou Reed can wait.
He
He said
wait.
fuck Lou Reed.
No, fuck Lou Reed and his middle of the road rock and roll.
Velvet Underground.
Well, I mean, he is dead. I don't know. Give him something.
I kind of feel that way too, and I feel that way about Chic because Nile Rodgers still alive, but his resume is really long, but the other two guys are dead. My favorite drummer is Tony Thompson, so it's like, they're dead. Put them in. Dead goes a long way with me. For a Hall of Fame. It's a museum.
But then again, if they're dead, they can wait a year or two.
Oh yeah, they can wait a year or two.
What about the Smiths?
Not a fan. I say keep them out.
80s progressive rock, new wave rock bands. Not a whole lot of representation. Anybody stand out that you think is missing from that group?
From the band? The
Smiths? From the 80s. No, from the 80s progressive new wave kind of era. Is there any special?
Is Devo in there?
I would think them as 70s, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. They started
in
the 70s. 80s. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Make me think about stuff I hadn't thought about in a while.
How about the Spinners?
Would you lump them in? I mean, they weren't a Motown group, but would you lump them in among the important kind of cultural icons of that era?
I guess I don't have an opinion. I've never owned a Spinners record, but I know a lot of people that dig the Spinners quite a bit.
Yeah. It's like Neil Diamond. That guy puts ticket buyers around the building waiting in line, but I don't care, so I get that.
The thing about the Spinners is that there's probably, if you lined up the roster of anybody who has ever been a Spinner, there's probably like 31 dudes.
That's a big show.
And there's
like
been that one.
now.
Yeah. Where are you on Sting?
Not a fan.
Really?
I'm kind of, it's weird. I never went through a Police thing. I was a Rush guy.
Okay.
I was a big Rush guy. I'm still a big Rush guy.
Yeah.
And I like the Police, but they haven't affected me emotionally that hard.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I didn't expect to hear that.
And that's cool. I can dig that because that's, it's, especially if you're Rush, there is a bit of a schism there between the two where you could see one way or the other. What about Stevie Ray Vaughn?
Again, Hendrix. I don't know. I listen to Hendrix. I don't listen to Stevie Ray Vaughn.
Right. Okay. You got a high bar. That's good. We need a high bar. How about War?
I I think they're super cool. I love the first 3 records. I own them. I guess I don't know if they're Hall of Fame material, but I dig them.
All right, so we'll put him in.
Okay.
All right, cool. And then Bill Withers is the last candidate.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know the song you mentioned. I don't know his catalog. And when you compare him to Marvin Gaye, I think I own every Marvin Gaye record. So
Okay.
From my experience, I don't know enough about him to probably say.
Right. Lean on Me is one of his songs.
Oh, okay.
So he's got some big.
Yeah.
He won 3 Grammys, and they were epic songs like that. What's the third song?
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
maybe 4 or 5 epic songs.
Yeah.
And
Grandmother's Hands. Or
Grandma's Hands, but nobody really knows that song that much. And then Lovely Day.
Oh, Lovely Day. That's right.
And that was,
just the 2 of us.
Oh, just the 2 of
That's
us
one of
with
his
Grover
songs.
Washington Jr.
Yeah.
That was kind of the late, part of, I don't want to say the late part of his career because he's still out there. Yeah, that was sort of long after the real chunk of relevance that we think about him. So
you mentioned Rush as being influential for you, Steve. Neil Peart, obviously, in that mix. Who else stands out for you drum-wise?
Wait, first let's settle this debate.
Oh,
is
okay.
it Peart or is it Peart?
Oh, okay.
I say Peart.
Do you?
You say Peart.
Okay.
All right.
And I say Ace Frehley
Oh, okay.
instead of
All
Frehley.
right.
Ace Frehley.
Ace Frehley.
That's how they say it. So
All right.
Well, you got to say a guy's name the way he says it.
Yeah, that's true.
I just have never heard
So it was
Neil Peart
Frehley's
say it.
comment, not Frehley's comment.
Frehley.
Okay.
But you know what made me ask? Because I had called him Neil Peart all my life. And then I heard during drum solo week, I heard Dave Letterman call him Neil Peart.
Huh.
And then I thought, well, Dave Letterman ain't going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to stand right next to the dude and introduce him for drum solo. He chose him for drum solo week. And I think he chose him to close drum solo week. So he's not going to do that and get his name wrong.
Right.
So I must have been pronouncing it wrong all this time.
All this time.
Yeah, I think that's the way those guys say it.
Okay.
So who stands out for you, influential-wise? Who would you pay money to go see?
Well, I mean, of course, Zeppelin. I'll talk about the stuff that influenced me, early on. It was definitely Rush and Zeppelin. And I loved Kiss so much, but I kind of figured it out pretty quick that Peter wasn't quite the commanding force as those other guys that I mentioned.
Right.
But I still loved it, because I love the music and I love the energy. But those were the big 3 for me, and they're probably still the biggest 3.
Sure.
Just, it's in my blood.
Well, Bonham's in everybody's blood.
Yeah.
That's why he is who he is.
But then later in life, it was all about Buddy Rich too.
Oh,
Buddy
sure.
Rich is God, I cannot get enough of that guy still. And it's just, I've been trying to collect every single recording he's ever made since 1937. His first single was with the Andrews Sisters, Beer Miss Duchamp. Bootleg, television, broadcast, whatever it is, I'm trying to collect every single note he's ever recorded. And I'm over 90% there.
No
Man.
kidding.
Yeah.
Now that's a cause. Yeah.
Wow.
Still working on it.
Yeah.
And it goes in waves. Sometimes I put it away for a little while because I just get screwed up by it. I get so obsessed. So I have to put it down every now and then, but I'm pretty close. Pretty fucking close.
Hey, you mentioned that you worked at a Sacramento record store.
I didn't know that I mentioned that,
Oh,
but I
did you?
did.
You did?
I said we all worked at record
Yeah.
stores, but I started working at Tower Records on Watt Avenue in 1987.
The Sacramento record store.
Yeah.
I worked at Tower Records on Florin Avenue in 88.
Nice.
Which
Yeah.
one was the first one?
Broadway.
The one downtown, right? Yeah.
Broadway.
The one where the Tower Theater is.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so. I saw a picture of you. You had a Tower record shirt on. You probably got that from the store, right? Just like I had mine too. That's fun.
Yeah, Tower was a lifestyle. That was one of the coolest jobs. That
No
was
doubt.
way better than selling tires.
Yeah, yes, that was the job where you didn't make a whole lot of money.
Still a cylindrical petroleum byproduct,
That's true.
but so much cooler.
The job was so cool, John. You would go, you would show up to work, and if you went on your day off, you weren't going to leave for hours because all your buddies were there, and there was just so much stuff to do, right? I mean,
I ended up managing my own store in Sherman Oaks. I started in Sacramento, then when I moved to L.A. in 89, I transferred and I worked at the Tower Sunset store. And then I moved out to the Valley, so I ended up working at Sherman Oaks, and by 91, we opened a clearance outlet on Ventura Boulevard, and I ended up managing the Tower Outlet Clearance Center from 91 till 99, a week before I went on tour with Rollins.
Wow.
And it was a blast.
Well,
That's
we
why I
probably-
had kids, because they paid insurance.
Sure.
I was a store manager, so I had a halfway decent salary.
Right.
It ruled.
man, we probably know some of the same Tower people from
We
the old
probably
days.
do.
Yeah. That's fun. Sacramento Tower.
Yeah.
You know, so here's one of my fun things that I get to do from Tower from the old days. You know, like you could get tickets to anything in Sacramento. Yeah. So I saw Eazy-E at the Elks Lodge because I thought, why not? And you know, back then it was like $8. Uh-huh. And the show lasted about 45 minutes before they shut down the theater and like, everybody get the hell out of here. It's too crazy.
All right. Yeah. So there's Elks Lodge, and then there's Elks Lodge. You know, there's a White Elks Lodge and a Black Elks Lodge.
Well, I was not in the White Elks Lodge.
Okay. That's what I'm curious about, because it seems like 45 minutes could be pretty long.
Yeah.
I just think about, I grew up in Vallejo. In Vallejo, there's 2 Elks Lodges, and they're not far apart. I mean, they're maybe, a couple miles apart. One is, larger and it has a pool and all of that stuff, and then the other one's just kind of it's like a little bar. But there is clearly one where, one is the White Elks Lodge and one is the Black Elks Lodge. And it seems like when you said I saw Eazy-E for $8 at the Elks Lodge, my first thought was I put him at the White Elks Lodge, and I was like, how in the hell did that go 45 minutes?
Yeah. Well, I don't know which club it was, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I probably was the only white dude who wasn't serving drinks or something. So maybe it was the white. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah, but you saw Eazy-E for $8.
Yeah, I saw Eazy-E. I saw when Metallica came to Arco Arena. I saw them. I saw Queensryche. And it was like nothing to see a show. It was.
That was when you had to stand in line to get a ticket for something too.
Well, when I pictured the Neil Diamond around that building, I was thinking of Tower because they went around the building trying to get tickets for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
So nowadays, you go online at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by 10 o'clock and 8 seconds, the show's done, sold out.
Right.
Now you have to be a hacker to get tickets. You can't even work at Tower Records and get tickets anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, nowadays you can't even work at Tower Records anymore. But
yeah. What do you think about? So, obviously, you've had bands in the past. I imagine you probably do a band of some kind, if not doing some kind of project now. How do you get you have more access to get your stuff out, but how do you get people to pay and listen to your stuff now? What ideas do you have?
I don't know if I have any ideas about that. I mean, you put it out on iTunes and you do the press and you try and get the publicity and you put the release out, and I can't really answer to that. The last record I put out was the Mack record called Pay to Play in 2011, and I only put it out digitally.
Right.
Just because
there's no physical copy of that record.
There's not a physical copy of that record.
Wow.
It was intended to be released on vinyl.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I couldn't get a distributor. I was going for Record Store Day, whatnot, and I would have spent way too much money to do it.
Man. Right. For a guy who worked at Tower Records, that breaks my heart.
Well, unfortunately,
and I know it didn't please you as well.
Well, that was the beauty of the Mother Superior days, was when I was still working at Tower, being a store manager, I had access to all that stuff. I mean, we had access to the print shop for POP materials, and I got distribution because Bayside Distribution was owned by Tower.
Right.
So Bayside distributed all our titles nationally, and we could put out, posters and stuff. Yeah, it was the coolest in.
Yeah, you're right. You could even get the art guy to make you something. You're like, why don't you make me a whatever?
Well, we provide the film, and I'd send it up to the print shop and they would just send us posters. We'd get posters made, just get album flats, and they would just send it to my store. Didn't pay a thing.
Right on. Wow.
That is cool.
That's the hookup.
Yeah, and now Tower's out of business. So
I wonder how.
Someone else took over what they do.
There's been a lot of great bands from the Tower Records system.
That does bring up a good point, though. Gene Simmons recently has said 2 different things in the press, talking about how rock and roll is dead. But he means rock and roll from his era, selling records, that kind of thing. But rock and roll's not dead. Skrillex and Deadmau5, those guys make a load of money doing counterculture stuff. What do you want to say to Gene Simmons when he says that kind of stuff?
I think Gene is kind of an asshole. I don't know. He likes to say comments that are shocking, as much as I love the guy.
Sure.
That's, I guess.
He does shock for the sake of shocking.
Yeah.
And, you've witnessed it for years and years and years, more up close than anybody else. Yeah, I just feel like, man, sometimes he says things and I go, you stodgy old bastard.
Yeah.
That does not make you.
I kind of don't listen to him. He doesn't impress me as much as Paul does. It's always been about Paul Stanley with Kiss for me.
Yeah.
He's the one who keeps writing the songs.
And he's the one who's about the music.
He's about the music. Always has been and always will be. It's his, and he, his record, he kind of tried to make it clear that Kiss is his band.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt it.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. we definitely want to promote your work now with the Blue Man Group, but where do you see the evolution of the Blue Man Group? Where do you see yourself, years from now? What are you headed toward?
Well, for now, interesting. I guess I'll say a little bit about this. The Blue Man Group is going to change the show in the new year, adding some new content, which is very expensive. As you can imagine, changing props, changing theater, staging aspects of the entire theater. It's very expensive, time-consuming, and it costs a lot because you have to shut down the show.
Yeah.
It's going to happen in January or maybe February. Sometime in the new year, we're going to shut down for a week. We're going to add a whole bunch of new content. So that's always exciting.
You guys can add a whole bunch of new content to that show by shutting down for 1 week.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of preparation that goes
I
into
bet.
that prior to.
Yeah.
And obviously they're trying to shut down the show for the shortest amount of time possible because that's such a loss of revenue. So
that prep means that you're doing your 7 shows a week,
Yeah.
but that you guys are putting in time now to...
Well, no, we haven't learned any new material. New York is where Blue Man Productions is, and they do most of the content creation there.
Okay.
So that's going to be happening. I've been fortunate to be involved with the Blue Man in a pretty deep capacity over a variety of different kinds of situations. I played on the Megastar Tour in all of 2009, which afforded me to go to Israel, play for a couple weeks over there, Brazil, Taiwan, all through Canada, all through England on a tour bus.
You still get to tour.
Oh, yeah.
This gig is great.
It's great. Blue Man's cool, too, because what they do is when they tour, they sit down in a city for a week.
Yeah.
They'll just do a show for a week.
Right.
Instead of just, and sometimes we'll do night after night. Like in England, we were doing arenas, and it was night after night, get on the tour bus and wake up the next day and do the new city. But that's not as common as like going and doing a sit-down show. In Israel, we played in Tel Aviv. We only did 6 shows in 2.5 weeks. So we got to go to Jerusalem and, hang out on the Mediterranean Sea.
Wow.
It's my favorite place I've probably ever been. Incredible.
That's amazing.
So, and I've done some other things with Blue Man. And when we opened a new show, I was part of a group of people that were kind of appointed to develop some of the new material for the procession that I talked about earlier in the interview, and some of the show content, some of the drumming parts and things like that. So I've been lucky enough to be part of some of the creative process on a local level. So that's been exciting. So I hope to be more involved with that, to be honest. Ultimately, it'd be nice to be involved with maybe some of the content, musical content creation in some way. That would be the most satisfying, I think. Because if I'm not, I mean, I love playing drums, but the thing that satisfies me the most is sort of, the creation of some new ideas and new content. So if I can be a part of that team, ultimately, that would be the most satisfying.
Well, it seems like Blue Man Group has scratched your every other itch. You've been on the road.
Yeah.
You've gotten to stay home. It's a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
You get the cool, corporate benefits.
It's pretty much the ultimate gig for a drummer.
Yeah. Wow. Especially a drummer with a family.
Yeah.
So are the Blue Men on stage, are they percussion type dudes, or do they pick that up as part of their overall skill set?
It can go either way. First and foremost, they're usually actors.
Okay.
But if they have zero musical background, they probably wouldn't get the gig.
Yeah.
Some of the guys have come in with very little skills and picked it up and just been phenomenal right away. Some of the guys have, I think I've heard of some situations where some of the guys have been excellent character actors, but their musical skills are subpar, so that doesn't make it. You do have to have both. But I think first and foremost, the character, the Blue Man character, is what they're looking for the most.
Yeah.
And then some of the guys will come in with very little musical training and be able to pick it up just fine. Some guys have a lot of musical training. Some of the Blue Men have marched drum corps and marched in like Garfield cadets and stuff like that, so their hands are real good. So that lends itself to the part as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is absolutely fascinating.
You guys, if you haven't seen the Blue Man Group, come out to Vegas. Come see the Blue Man Group.
Yeah, they're at the Monte Carlo.
At the Monte Carlo.
And it's 7 shows a week at a minimum, right?
It's 12 right now.
Oh, it's 12 shows?
Right now.
Holy
and
cow.
coming into the holiday season, it'll go up. It'll go to 14, and then, between Christmas, around Christmas, they'll start having triple shows per day. So there's a lot of shows available to see.
When you guys go on the road,
are you guys playing tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Wow.
2 shows tonight.
Dude, he's doing a double today.
Oh, no, I'm not
Stop
playing
by the
tonight.
podcast.
I'm not
Oh,
playing.
okay.
No, I'm off tonight.
You're off. Okay.
But the show is going.
Right on.
Can you play 2 shows, or is it too physically demanding for you to do?
No, we usually do a double. That's
Okay.
usually part of our schedule. So when I say 5 to 7 shows a week, you can do the math. Like, we're usually doing a double. So if I got 5 shows, I work 3 days a week.
Right. Wow.
That is cool.
It's super cool.
3 days a week is awesome.
Yeah.
When you're screaming, going 100 miles an hour, doing like what you did with the Rollins Band, playing on 10, can you do that every night, or night after night after night, or do you have to have a break at some point just to recover a little bit?
Well,
Yeah, how much of the job is really physical?
it's as physical as one makes it.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody has the same physicality in the show.
Okay.
I tend to have that aspect where I just like, that's what satisfies me the most. I want to feel it.
Your hands go way up. Your shoulders are out.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing.
I want to feel it, and I want to know what I want to do, and I want to sweat. So that, not everybody has to play that way, and I don't have to play that way, but it's sort of instinct. But like I said earlier, there's a lot of dynamics in the show. You can't play the whole show like that. I mean, there's passages where you have to play your sticks, 3 inches high off the head,
Yeah.
or it's going to just blow everybody out, which is not what is wanted.
Right.
So for non-musical people like me, just understanding that level of control, of awareness of where your stick head is, 3 inches, and maintaining that's impressive to us lay people when it comes to drums. That is so cool. And when you listen to it, I'm always wondering, how the hell are you going so fast for so long? Like, John's breaking it down. He's like, he's playing 16th notes and he's doing this, and incredible.
Clear. You're listening to your stuff. Your the influence of Neil Peart was clear because man, your 100 miles an hour and your first note and your last note, if they're meant to be the same dynamic, are identical. So it doesn't surprise me, your sensitivity to the dynamics and all that stuff. And for the layperson, sure, that may sound like 3 inches off the head that's just what you do for a living. It is where it is, and you do what needs to be done for the part. So that's, to me, I'm like, okay, well, great. But what I'm curious about is, how long do you do it? I mean, it's not like a running back where you're getting hammered by 11 guys every week and you have just an expiration date. And Buddy Rich went until he was
Dead.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was no longer a young man. So
And he played great.
and he played great to the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think for you? I mean,
You got to
have
push yourself. I just think you have to push yourself.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it's not satisfying. And so we're talking about the idea of, quote, playing on 10, unquote. That doesn't always mean swinging over your head either. I mean, playing on 10, you can play 3 inches off the head and still be on 10.
Yeah.
So you have to have that sensitivity, I think. And I think, I'm still working on trying to create that maturity, because the bulk of my career has been just playing over my head, sticks over my head and whatnot. And I can't do that all the time in this show. You can do it some of the time. And this show is largely built on wind sprints, too, because you'll have a piece of music, 6 minutes, but then you don't play for 3 minutes.
Right.
And then you might play for 30 seconds, and then you don't play for another 3 minutes. And then you might play for 20 minutes, and then you take a break for 15 minutes because there's part of the show where there's no band at all, you know, and then you get back up there and you play another couple minutes. And then, so you really have to be engaged the whole time. It's not like doing a rock concert where you're just playing for 70 minutes straight.
Right.
And then you're done.
Right.
Yeah. Well, your fitness clearly does not come into question. I mean, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, what
Yeah.
else are you going to do?
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to get back to Buddy Rich just for a second, because I wanted to ask this question. I forgot. Eric Clapton talked about Robert Johnson and how he would just, and still does, listens to his work. And this is Eric Clapton. I can't find the notes that Robert Johnson is playing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find something similar to that with Buddy Rich? I saw him play at Great America, and it was incredible. You know,
I never got to see him live.
well, and I was young enough, but I knew enough to appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I was amazed by, just because he standard grip, and I always just wondered, how the hell did he do it? And he had to be in his 60s when I saw him, So do you have the
He
same
had
kind
20
of
years
sensation?
left when you saw him, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he died at 69. He died in 87. He was 69 years old. I have a recording of his from December of 86, which is the last known live recording of his, and he still sounds incredible. And he was dead 6 months later.
Wow.
I think he still blows my mind. I mean, he's creative and he's technical, and he just doesn't. He's just relentless. his ability, and he's musical at the same time.
Right. He's also
he's
an
got
entertainer.
Yeah, he's got it all.
He never lost sight of the fact that he's letting people enjoy their good time. And he never played.
Well, he's kind of forcing people to enjoy their good time.
Well, that's true. but the good time part of it was there.
Yeah.
I mean, he never shut his eyes and pretended there was nobody looking.
No, but there's drum solos where, he takes it down, and he often would do that buzz roll down the very edge of the drum and then pull it back to the rim, clickety, clickety, and go back to the buzz roll. And if people started hooting and hollering before he wanted them to, he would shut them up with an accent. Like, no, that's not.
Hold on, I'm in control here.
Yeah. Just hang on a second. We're not to that point yet. Save it. And he could command an audience's, attention with a drum solo better than any other drummer I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. I mean, and it seemed effortless. It absolutely could not have been.
Well, it
but
definitely
seemed
comes out of him. I mean, he's sweating like crazy. I mean, I've seen a lot of different footage. He's sweating all over the drums. He's just profusely sweating.
Yeah.
But it's so musical. It's so, like, I don't know what's going on in his head. I mean, his hands are working, his brain's working, his everything's just right on.
Yeah.
And he also drummed in an era like where he would wear like a sweater and a tie.
Yeah.
And you're like, how in the hell? Because you'd see him, he'd be all sweaty. You're like, take off your sweater,
and
man.
he never once looked like, ooh, he's right on the edge. He might lose it.
No.
Total never got near there.
Yeah.
I'd say bring back the initials on stuff too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
People are doing that one on the bass drum.
Yeah.
The bass drum.
Yeah.
Print. Yeah.
That's
all
fine.
right. So, okay, to close out, we've had you for an hour, and we really appreciate it. Is there anything that you're doing that you want to plug? Is there anything you want to promote coming up?
No. Right now, I'm just
Special Blue Man Group events maybe that are coming, or
well, in January, there's going to be quite a bit of new content added to the show. We just actually added some new content real quickly to the show right now. So if you'd seen the show earlier this year, it's already a little bit different.
Wow. How often do you do that?
As often as it needs to happen, honestly. If something goes in, the show that loaded in was loaded in so quickly that it just, after a period of time, some of it could have been better.
Yeah.
So they put some better stuff in.
All right. Well said.
Yeah.
How about your kids? Either one of them play?
Yeah, they both play.
Right.
Yeah, my 19-year-old, he's shipping off to the Army though in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
And but my younger son, he's a junior in high school, and he's playing violin in the orchestra and excelling very well. They're both very musical.
Terrific.
Is your son going to be in the Army band at all? Is he gonna...
I don't think so. No, probably. He plays guitar. He'll probably do his own thing.
What's he going to be? What's his MLS going to be? Do you know?
Well, at this point, I think he's going to train to repair generators.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No kidding. And there's a demand.
And there's always dudes in the Army wanting to get a band together. So if he does have the bug, that's pretty cool. Hey, what do you think, just out of curious, and I know you're going to be straightforward because you're that kind of guy, but I'm a big U2 guy. Tell me what you see when you hear Larry Mullen, or what do you feel about Larry Mullen and his drumming?
Well,
be honest, too. It's fun.
I played with Daniel Lanois.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Mother Superior was Daniel Lanois' band in 2003 for the Shine tour.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And we were doing Rollins Band tours and Daniel Lanois tours that year. And the other guys have continued to work with him after I left Mother Superior in different capacities. But Daniel's, I still stay in touch with him when it seems necessary. When I talk about U2, I think of Daniel as being part of that. But it didn't rock hard enough for me.
Right.
And knowing that Larry Mullen plays with a click track for every single thing he does at all times is a little binding to, in my opinion.
To your artist sensibility kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nothing wrong with that. And we're both big fans of Daniel Lanois, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. You ever seen that?
That's one of the things that inspired this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah? Yeah, the episode of him on Artist Talk with Pharrell.
Huh?
So Pharrell has a show called Artist Talk, and he talks with anybody.
Actually, Henry was on that show, too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was. And one of the things that he does, Pharrell, is just in the middle of a setting like this, there'll be empty water glasses, just like our beers are empty, so we're going to do something about that in a minute. Empty water glasses, and then someone will come in and fill the water glasses just in the middle of the interview, and it'll be just smoking hot, absolutely beautiful naked chick.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he just does it for, like this happened. And
he doesn't even acknowledge it. Like, he'll show up, and then, like, Daniel Lanois like, It's hilarious.
It is funny to see.
If anytime you ever want to promote something and you want to come on and do something, man, we're glad to do it. And we don't have to come down to Vegas to do it. We can do it via Skype or anything else, too. You're always welcome on the show.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, really.